Bo Derek was a 10, but I'm a 13. 10 is the number of Sephirot in the Osea world, and it's a concept of completion. However, when you go up worlds, you add some Sephirots to that 10. I'm from the Yetzirah world. My perception is from Yetzirah. I feel the male is from Yetzirah anyway. Bo Derek was a perfect 10. And that puts her in the physical world. She was a perfect physical specimen. But women end in the physical world. And the elevation of man is above Keter. Now, when you go to the next world, that Keter becomes a Malkuth. You see? So for me, Keter, Malkuth. I know that Malkuth could rise up to Keter, but even in its own sense, Keter of the Osea world becomes Malkuth of the Yetzirah world. But it's combined, because when you go into Yetzirah, you don't lose Osea world. You've had to complete Osea world to get to Yetzirah world. You've got to be the mamish of the physical to get up. So I'm not denying the physical. I am physical. But I've elevated. Now let me just give you a little bit of Keter Malkuth, first of all, because that's the foundation of all this. Keter Malkuth of the Malkuth of the Osea world, Keter is the Keter of Malkuth of the Yetzirah world is the Keter of the Osea world. And Keter is 620. Let me show you on this maybe. See, this is the Keter Malkuth. Keter is the 620. And Malkuth is the 496. So when you add 620 and 496, you get 1,116, which just so happens to be the gematria of my brother's name, Shimon. Oh, this all too. Then you add 2 for Keter 1, Malkuth 1. It's permitted to add those to numbers. And so you get 1,118. This is the magic number. Because 1,118 is the full gematria of the Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. The 6 letters, 6 words of the Shema. And that's Bereshis, by the way. The total gematria is 1,118. And not only that, it's the full spellings of Yud He Vav He, it's 232, and Elohim, as in its 3 spellings, which is again another 4 and 3, of 886, and those two, 886 and 232, go together and make 1,118. So this is Keter Malkuth. And when you say the Shema, it is Keter Malkuth. And this is a Keter Malkuth for me. And so now, that's my foundation point. That's my grunt. My ground. And so here, when we go up from Malkuth, as we get why I become 13, I add Yesod, Netzach, and Hod of the Yetzirah world. And those are real sexy things, aren't they? Because Yesod is the phallus, the bris, and Netzach and Hod are the two testicles. So I'm adding this triangle there, and it becomes a sexy thing because, you know, in the Yetzirah world, it's the Vav of the Yud Hey Vav Hey. And that's masculine here, obviously. And that's why the masculine has very little to do with the feminine. You see, because quite frankly, the masculine is here as Yesod, Netzach, and Hod. See? So the masculine is here. And this comes down, well, the Osea world goes up on Shabbos, but quite frankly, this goes down also on Shabbos into it, and that's the merging of, you know, the male and the female on Shabbos night in a sexual merging. And that's when they do come together, otherwise they don't, from a different world. And this is the original 13. And remember, like when there's on an elevator, apartment buildings, they don't use 13. 13 was considered like, ooh, you know, a bad number. And one of the reasons why is it has a sexual connotation. Of course, it has echad, it's 13, and ahava, love, is 13. But the real secret of here is the 3. And 3 was always the number of genitals, you know? And so here we are in the Keter Malchus, right there, and Keter becomes Malchus for higher up. There's other things here. You know, Osea world itself is, Osea is 385, and Yetzirah is 315. And those two together come out to be 700, which is Set, Shin Tov. And if you add 2 to that, you also get Shabbat. And again, that's the link. You know? But this idea of rise, so I feel 13, which again has to do with the bris, with the sexuality, because that's the years that you become bar mitzvah, and the male, you know, relates to his sexuality. Let me give one other thing here. You know, I like to think of Keter Malchus. You see, I spell Malchus sometimes with a final mem. So if you do a Rosh Tivo of Malchus with a final mem, because it's squared, mem squared. So the Rosh TV would be Rosh Tivo would be Kaf, squiggle, final mem, which would be 600, so it's 620, which is Keter itself. Another thing I'd like to do is do the gematria for Yesod, see? Because to me, the real secret here is Yesod. And, you know, as being the first Sephira, you know, up. See, these are 3, you know, that the law of 3 is always like 3 heads and things. That's what happens in the 13. 10 lower and then 3. There's a pedestal and then a 3. And so Yesod and Malchus, Yesod is 80, of course, and Malchus was 496, and together they become 576. And if I add the letters, 4 letters for Yesod, 5 for Malchus, that's 9 plus 1 for all, it's 586, and that's shofar. And that's Yesod fully spelt out. You see? Let me just see something else. Oh, sure. 586 is Yerushalayim. Beautiful. So that's where the union comes in on Yesod and Malchus. And we have some other beautiful things here about Netzach and Hod, you see, and together. But you get the point. I'm in the 13 world. Bo Derek is in the 10 world. And in this world, the masculine world of 13, the concept of one has different sensations, and I'm going to be talking about that. Different perceptions, and how one can judge people from this world.